I never thought I'd feel the kind of rage and helplessness I felt last week. My ex-wife, Jessica, and I have been divorced for 7 years, and we've always managed to co-parent our 14-year-old son, Noah, without major issues. We had a system. She got him every other week, I got him the alternate week, and we respected each other's boundaries. Or at least, that's what I thought. Then everything blew up. Jessica decided to borrow $2,500 from Noah's savings account, his birthday money from grandparents, and money he'd earned from his part-time job, without telling him. She spent it on buying luxury sneakers and tickets for her new boyfriend's cousin, who is apparently a rising star in some local hip-hop scene. According to her, Noah didn't need that money anyway, because we are his parents. We provide for him. It's not like it was really his. That alone would have made me furious. But what made it worse was seeing the look on Noah's face when he realized what happened. He was devastated. Noah had been saving for months, meticulously putting aside every paycheck from his weekend job at the grocery store. He'd been planning to buy his first gaming laptop by the end of summer, a milestone he'd been dreaming of for over a year. And she just took it. No warning, no explanation, just spent it on someone else's family celebration. The next day, Noah confronted her, and as expected, Jessica minimized everything. She told him to stop being dramatic and insisted that he would thank her later because she was trying to teach him generosity. She even implied that his savings were never really his to begin with, since we, the parents, contributed to it. Noah froze. I could tell that in that moment, he felt completely betrayed, not just by her, but by the world. I tried calling her, reasoning with her, reminding her that it was Noah's money and that she couldn't just spend it on someone else. She refused to listen, accused me of overreacting, and even insinuated that I was jealous of her new life. And then she dropped the kicker. She claimed that I was trying to ruin her happiness because she had finally moved on after our divorce. At that moment, I realized this wasn't just about money. It was about control and manipulation. By the evening, Noah refused to go back to her house. He was inconsolable, pacing around my living room, muttering about how unfair life is and how he didn't understand why his mother would do something like this. I sat down with him and tried to reassure him, but the truth is, I was terrified too. I've dealt with Jessica's mood swings before, but this was something new. It was cruel, calculated, and completely reckless. So I did something I never imagined I'd do. I reached out to her boyfriend, Mark, directly. I explained the situation calmly, told him what had happened, and asked him if he could convince Jessica to return the money. To my surprise, he responded within a few hours. He apologized, saying he had no idea Jessica had used Noah's money, and he agreed to send it back immediately. By late evening, the money was back in Noah's account. Relief washed over both of us, but the damage wasn't just financial. Noah looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Dad, why does she hate me sometimes?" And I didn't have an answer. I just hugged him and promised I'd protect him. I thought that would be the end of it. But that night, Jessica texted both of us, angry, blaming me for interfering, claiming that she'd humiliated her in front of Mark, and insisting that her relationship was now on the rocks because of me. I stared at my phone, completely numb. It's been 7 years since our divorce, and yet here we were, back to square one, with my son caught in the middle. I knew I had to make a decision. Do I continue trying to reason with her, or do I start thinking about full custody? The next morning, Noah refused to get dressed for school. He sat on the couch, staring blankly at the floor, clutching his laptop fund notebook like it was a life raft. I tried to get him to talk, and finally, he whispered, "Dad, she called me selfish. She said I don't appreciate her sacrifices." My stomach sank. I'd heard Jessica manipulate him before, but seeing him internalize it like this, it felt like watching someone I loved being slowly eroded from the inside. I called Jessica, hoping we could at least have a civil conversation. Big mistake. She answered with a sigh that sounded more like disgust. "Why are you bothering me again? I gave him food, shelter, and I'm trying to be nice. You're making this into a big deal. She went on to insist that Noah's savings were really just joint funds and that he was being ungrateful. Every word was dripping with moral gaslighting. She even accused me of turning Noah against her, claiming I was poisoning his mind and trying to steal him from her. By now, Noah was practically in tears. He muttered, "I don't even want to go there this weekend, Dad. I don't want to see her." And I didn't blame him. My mind raced. I could keep fighting verbally with Jessica, or I could start thinking legally. My gut told me that what had just happened wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a pattern I hadn't fully seen before. Then came the second shock. My sister, who's a school counselor, called me. Apparently, Noah had confided in her after school, and she noticed he was unusually anxious and withdrawn, classic signs of emotional stress. She suggested documenting everything Jessica was doing, including texts, emails, and any attempts to undermine Noah emotionally. She said, "This isn't just about money anymore. It's about his emotional safety." That hit me harder than anything. I'd always assumed custody battles were messy, but I'd never realized the mental toll on the kid until now. By midweek, Jessica escalated further. She texted Noah repeatedly, claiming that if he didn't come back to her house, she would tell the court I'm the victim and make him regret listening to me. The texts were manipulative, cruel, and designed to make him feel guilty. He came to me after reading one and said, shaking, "Dad, why is she doing this? I didn't do anything wrong." That question haunted me all night. I tried to respond calmly to Jessica, reminding her that we had co-parenting rules and Noah's savings were off limits. She responded with silence, then a cryptic message. "You'll see, some things need to be taken care of." My blood ran cold. I had no idea what she meant, but the vague threat felt intentional. That night, I sat up on the couch with Noah, talking him through his feelings, assuring him that none of this was his fault. I also made a decision. I needed professional advice. The next day, I met with a family lawyer. I explained the situation, theft from our child, emotional manipulation, and the constant gaslighting. The lawyer recommended filing for temporary full custody, at least until we could establish a clearer record of Jessica's behavior. I left the office feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief that we were taking steps to protect Noah, dread that this was only going to get messier. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Jessica showed up at my door. She wasn't yelling yet, but her presence was enough to make Noah freeze in place. She smiled, too wide, too calculated, and said, "I just wanted to see my son. I don't understand why you're turning him against me." Her tone was soft, but the tension was palpable. I realized then that this wasn't about the money, or even about Noah. It was about control. She needed him to be hers, even if it meant destroying him emotionally. I gently told her that Noah needed space, that we'd be in touch when it was appropriate. She nodded slowly, muttered something about, "You think you can keep him from me," and left, but not before glancing at Noah like she was assessing territory. I could see the fear in his eyes, and I knew then that filing for custody wasn't just an option, it was a necessity. The day after Jessica showed up at my door, things got even more complicated. Noah had been unusually quiet at breakfast, poking at his cereal without saying a word. When I asked him what was wrong, he finally admitted, voice barely above a whisper, "Mom told me she's only doing all this because of Mark, that he doesn't love her and she has to prove she's a good mother to keep him." My heart sank. That explained so much. Jessica's behavior wasn't just about control over Noah, it was about her own insecurities and her relationship with her boyfriend. She was projecting her fear of abandonment onto my son, manipulating him to fix her adult problems. I realized this was bigger than I thought. It wasn't just emotional recklessness, it was systematic manipulation. I decided to talk to Mark again, cautiously. He admitted that Jessica had been erratic for months, often using Noah as a pawn in arguments with him. He didn't know the full extent until I reached out, and he sounded genuinely shocked. He confessed that he'd been trying to step back from her drama, but now realized she could be dangerous for a child. Meanwhile, my sister sent me another note after speaking with Noah privately. She observed that he was developing anxiety around his own mother, second-guessing himself and blaming himself for things he hadn't done. She warned me that prolonged exposure to Jessica's manipulations could affect him long-term if we didn't act. That night, I sat with Noah in his room and tried to explain what was happening in a way he could understand. I told him, gently, that sometimes adults make terrible choices that have nothing to do with the child. They're just trying to fix their own problems in the worst way possible. Noah nodded slowly, eyes wide, finally letting out a shaky sigh. I knew then that filing for custody wasn't just about money or weekend visits. It was about protecting Noah from emotional harm. I started documenting everything: text messages, threats, and even the conversation I had overheard about her using him to manipulate Mark. I felt guilty, in a way, that it had to come to this, but I couldn't let my son be caught in the middle any longer. That week, Jessica escalated again. She left a voicemail on my phone, calm but icy, saying, "You think you can take him away from me? You'll see that I'm not giving him up that easily." My stomach churned. She wasn't bluffing. I could feel the storm coming, and I had to prepare, not just legally, but emotionally, for Noah and for myself. By Monday, I had reached my breaking point. After another night of Noah lying awake, whispering about what his mom might do next, I finally called our lawyer and explained everything: the theft, the manipulation, the texts, and the threats. The lawyer recommended filing for temporary full custody immediately. It felt extreme, but seeing Noah so anxious made it necessary. When I served the papers, Jessica didn't explode at first. Instead, she played the quiet victim. She told Mark that I was destroying her family and that Noah was being alienated from her by his father. I almost laughed at the audacity. Mark, thankfully, seemed skeptical this time. He could see how she had been manipulating everyone around her, including him. The court dates were brutal. Jessica's attorney tried to paint me as controlling, suggesting I was overreacting and monopolizing Noah's time. I had stacks of evidence: the tax, screenshots, and even notes from Noah's school counselor. I could see the judge scanning through them, eyebrows raised. It felt good to have the truth on our side, but I couldn't ignore how stressed Noah was just sitting there, seeing his mother framed as a victim. Then came a twist I hadn't expected. In court, Jessica's past behaviors were brought up: her history of compulsive spending, erratic relationships, and even minor legal troubles years ago. Suddenly, everything clicked. Her recent theft wasn't an isolated lapse. It was part of a pattern of reckless decisions, sometimes driven by untreated mental health issues. I realized that part of her manipulations toward Noah stemmed from deeper instability, not sheer malice. Noah watched the proceedings quietly, clutching my hand. I whispered reassurances: "This isn't your fault, buddy. You're safe here." He nodded, eyes wide but relieved. For the first time in days, I felt like we were regaining control. By the end of the hearing, the judge granted temporary full custody to me until Jessica could prove she was stable and attending therapy regularly. Jessica left the courtroom without speaking to Noah, and I could see the mix of frustration and sadness on her face. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt relief, knowing my son would be safe for now. That evening, Noah curled up on the couch with me, finally smiling a little. "Dad, thanks," he whispered. "I feel like I can breathe again." And for the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to feel that maybe we could start rebuilding our life without fear. After the court ruling, things got quieter, but not peaceful. Jessica started sending emails and texts, carefully worded to sound conciliatory but still guilt-laden. "I'm only trying to be in Noah's life," she wrote. "You're taking him from me, and it's cruel." I ignored most of them, but Noah occasionally glanced at his phone, anxious about what she might be saying. I could see the toll it was taking on him. He flinched when the doorbell rang, expecting her to appear again. Then came a surprising development. Mark reached out, explaining that Jessica had agreed to start therapy and was now taking her medication consistently. He admitted she had been resistant at first, but the fear of losing Noah seemed to push her toward accepting help. I didn't trust her fully yet, but this was a sign, however small, that she might be able to stabilize. Over the next few weeks, Noah began to relax. He still missed his mom, but he no longer felt responsible for her moods or actions. I noticed him laughing again during dinner, joking about school, and even talking about the laptop he'd finally saved for. It was like a weight had been lifted off both of us. Jessica eventually requested supervised visitation. I agreed, cautiously, because Noah wanted to see her and because it was clear she was trying. During those visits, she was calmer, more present. Noah was hesitant at first, but gradually warmed to her. He even told me one night, "Dad, I think she's trying, really trying." I nodded, heart torn, realizing that while the past couldn't be erased, some bridges could be rebuilt. By the end of the year, Jessica had moved closer to consistent therapy and had started attending support groups for parents dealing with mental health issues. Noah's trust in her grew slowly, and I encouraged communication, always prioritizing his emotional safety. Personally, I found new stability as well. A woman I met through work became a close friend, and over months, our families began blending slowly but naturally. Noah and her daughter started spending weekends together, forming a genuine bond. Life felt lighter, more manageable. Looking back, I realized the turning point was protecting Noah from the immediate harm while holding Jessica accountable. It wasn't about punishment, it was about safety, boundaries, and teaching him that no one has the right to manipulate or betray him. Now, when I see Noah laughing, planning his next gaming tournament, or talking about school without anxiety, I know we survived the storm. Jessica is working on herself, Noah is healing, and we're all learning how to navigate a complicated, fragile, but ultimately hopeful family dynamic. It's been nearly a year since the custody battle began. Noah and I have settled into a new rhythm. He spends most of his time with me, with carefully supervised visits with Jessica, and it feels like a life we can finally breathe in. The difference is night and day. No more fear, no more constant anxiety, just a cautious, hopeful stability. Jessica has made progress. She's consistent with therapy now, and I hear from Mark that she's taking her medication and working on coping strategies for stress and impulsive behavior. She still has her struggles, but she's acknowledging them instead of letting them spill over into Noah's life. It's strange, but seeing her make these small changes makes me feel like a chapter of our lives that could have ended in complete chaos is slowly being rewritten. Noah has grown stronger too. He's more confident, more self-assured, and, most importantly, he's learning that he doesn't have to carry the weight of his mother's mistakes. He still talks about his feelings, about the fear and anger he experienced, but now he pairs those words with hope and pride. Watching him process his emotions and regain trust in the people around him has been one of the most humbling experiences of my life. On my side, I've also found happiness. A woman I met through work has become my partner, and her daughter and Noah are now good friends. We've created a blended family that, while unconventional, feels genuine and supportive. I never imagined I could find love again after the turmoil with Jessica, but life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. I think about the past often, about the fear, the manipulation, and the betrayal, but I try not to dwell there. Instead, I focus on lessons learned. Boundaries are necessary, children must be protected from adult conflicts, and sometimes tough decisions, like filing for custody, are acts of love, not control. Occasionally, Jessica sends small updates or gifts for Noah. He chooses whether or not to respond. And that's the healthiest part. He's learning to navigate relationships safely, with respect and caution. For now, that's enough. Life isn't perfect, and we carry the scars of the past. But in the quiet moments, laughing over a game, sharing dinner, planning a weekend hike, I see that we've made it through the storm. Noah is thriving, I am thriving, and slowly, Jessica is finding her footing too. It's not a perfect ending, but it's a real one, and sometimes that's the best you can hope for. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.